Fleet Admiral Zethkar's 4 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he reviewed the tactical display aboard his flagship, the Void Piercer. The hegemony's finest vessels surrounded him, 150 ships of the line, each one a masterpiece of Veltar engineering. Their bioneural hulls pulsed with living energy, their plasma cannons charged and ready. Today would mark the end of humanity's stubborn resistance to hegemony rule. Admiral, his tactical officer, Yelna, spoke with barely contained excitement. We've detected the human response fleet, single vessel approaching at sublight speed. Zethkar's mandibles clicked in amusement. One ship? Are you certain our sensors are functioning correctly? Confirmed, sir. One ship. It appears to be some sort of Dreadnought-class vessel. The Admiral's laughter filled the command bridge, a sound like grinding metal that his crew had learned to associate with impending victory. The humans were even more foolish than intelligence reports had suggested. Sending one ship, no matter how large, against the hegemony's grand fleet was tantamount to suicide. Bring it up on the main display, Zethkar commanded. I want to see this monument to human arrogance before we reduce it to cosmic dust. The holographic projector shimmered to life, revealing the approaching vessel. It was indeed massive, easily twice the length of Zethkar's flagship, but its design was utterly primitive. Where hegemony ships flowed with organic curves and bioluminescent patterns, this human construct was all harsh angles and brutal geometry. Gray metallic plating covered its surface like scars, interrupted only by what appeared to be weapon emplacements and sensor arrays. Scan it, Zethkar ordered. Let's see what these mammals think passes for a warship. Yelna's tentacles danced across her console, initiating a deep structure analysis. The results would take a few moments to compile, but Zethkar was confident they would reveal the typical human weaknesses: inferior materials, outdated weapon systems, and the kind of desperate improvisation that marked a species fighting above its weight class. The scanning beam lanced out from the Void Piercer, invisible to the naked eye but detectable by any civilized species' sensors. It would map the human vessel's structure, catalog its armaments, and identify its vulnerabilities. Standard procedure before any engagement. What came back made Yelna's chromatophores flash in distress. Admiral, she whispered, her voice trembling. The scan results. There must be an error. Report, Zethkar snapped, his amusement fading. Sir, the hull composition, it's not standard metal plating. The outer layer appears to be compressed neutronium mesh wrapped around a crystallized dark matter lattice. The power signature... Yelna paused, checking her readings again. Sir, that single ship is generating more energy than our entire fleet combined. Zethkar felt his confidence waver. Weapon systems? I'm reading. 17 different types of energy weapons, including what appears to be controlled singularity projectors. Kinetic systems include mass drivers that can accelerate projectiles to 97% light speed. And sir, Yelna's voice dropped to barely audible levels. I'm detecting antimatter storage containment for approximately 40,000 warheads. The bridge fell silent except for the soft hum of bioneural processors. 40,000 antimatter warheads. The hegemony's entire strategic arsenal contained less than 100. Defensive systems? Zethkar asked, though he dreaded the answer. Multi-layered energy shielding powered by what appears to be a contained artificial star. Ablative armor that regenerates using programmable matter. Point defense systems that... Yelna's tentacles froze over her console. Admiral, the point. Defense grid alone consists of over 10,000 individually targeted beam weapons. Zethkar stared at the tactical display, watching as the human Dreadnought continued its steady approach. It hadn't even powered up its weapons yet, treating the Grand Fleet like an insignificant obstacle rather than a mortal threat. How is this possible? He whispered. Intelligence reports indicated that humanity had barely achieved fusion technology. Their largest vessels were supposed to be primitive chemical propulsion craft barely capable of interplanetary travel. "Sir," Communications Officer Vex Tar spoke up, his bioluminescent patches dim with fear. "Incoming transmission from the human vessel." "Put it through." The image that appeared on the display was startling in its ordinariness. A human female, apparently middle-aged by their species' standards, wearing what looked like a simple gray uniform. She could have been a clerk or administrator, rather than the commander of the most terrifying war machine Zethkar had ever encountered. "This is Admiral Chen of the Terran Defense Force vessel Indomitable," she said calmly. "You are in violation of the Terran Neutral Zone. Withdraw your forces immediately, or we will be forced to respond." Zethkar found his voice. "You face 150 ships of the Hegemony Grand Fleet. Surrender now, and your deaths will be swift." "Admiral," Chen's expression didn't change. "You scanned our ship, Admiral. You know what we're capable of. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. Zethkar looked around his bridge at his crew's frightened faces. 150 ships, the pride of the Hegemony, against one human dreadnought that could apparently crack planets. "Sir?" Yilna asked quietly. "Orders." For the first time in his 40-year career, Fleet Admiral Zethkar gave an order he'd never imagined possible. "All ships, withdraw to minimum safe distance. We're going home." As the Grand Fleet began its retreat, Zethkar watched the human dreadnought maintain its steady course, not bothering to pursue. It had made its point simply by existing. Later, as they jumped to hyperspace, Zethkar realized the most terrifying truth of all: if humanity had built one ship like the Indomitable, they had certainly built others. The galaxy had just become a much more dangerous place. And somewhere in human space, Admiral Chen smiled, knowing that sometimes the best victory was the one you never had to fight.